Um, so cool. Well, I have some things that I've learned that I would love to share. But not but go ahead if there's some things that you want to all maybe talk about informally. Go ahead and put it in the chat because what helps me is understanding what are some of the things that you would love to maybe see content on, or maybe little how-tos. They might be kind of small. So if there's things that you've been up to over the last weeks and months or something like that, and you'd love for me to take a shot at, um, creating some kind of content on that, slides, other things that I could add to the kind of the course, or just, ad hoc how-tos, feel free to put that in the chat. Um, so here's what I got. And some of you may have seen some of this, but here's what I got. I would love for you to let me go into start from the beginning. There's a couple things, and go ahead and put maybe in chat. I had kind of three topics, and we'll see how far we get on them. And so the first one, and put in the chat in terms of which one maybe the not appeals for you, but yeah, which one would be interesting, and maybe we start with that one. But the first one is this idea of using and codifying and building out agents to go off and do some work for us. And we can do that very easily in Claude Code. If any of you have Claude, that's something that we can do. It doesn't cost you anything more. It's included in your Claude subscription. So if that's something, and we can go through all of these as quick as we can. The other one, Perplexity Comet browser. Anybody using the Perplexity Comet browser at all? Okay. Would you love to maybe see what we can do with that? Okay. And then the other one, I'm doing a lightning session on this as well, around how we can really leverage and manage our code as, or our prompts as code. Okay. Rachel, I really appreciate you. Okay. Well, good. Well, I love you all too. I appreciate you. So let's do this. Let me go ahead. We'll start with number one. How many people in who use Claude? I love Claude. I find out I'm using it more and more. I know Istvan, Karina, you all use Claude. And just so that, how many people have used Claude Code? No? Okay. Even better, because you know what I love? I love people who haven't used something, and it tests me about how good I can explain it to people who've never seen it. James Cameron, it's so good to see you. I love it. Okay, well, let's do this. If you have Claude Code, or if you have Claude, just know that you can install it here. And if you go to Claude Code, and there's some instructions that are there. And if you follow these instructions, you'll be able to do this. I will say that I did this yesterday in my cohort course, and everybody's got a different setup on their machine, not different issues, but if you get it and you have some installation errors, I've seen that fairly common. But what do we do when we don't know the answer? We go to our favorite assistant and we ask it to help us solve the problem. That's what I do. Okay, so let's do this. Let's talk about what the scenario is. Let's first, I'm going to go to the whiteboard here. Gonna look at this. Oh, just first, here's just something to think about. Right, these are all the surfaces that I know I'm using these days. Right, assistants. I know everybody uses them. If you're using Claude Code, we're going to use the terminal. That might feel kind of techie to people, but you'll learn to love it. And then we've got these agentic browsers in Comet. Those are also if you're on Edge, in AI mode and Google AI mode. But we're going to look at how we can use the Comet browser to kind of do some work for us. And then AI code editors, that's Cursor. And even if you're not a coder, I'm going to hopefully convince you that working in a code editor is going to be your friend. Think about this, like just in terms of the metaphor. I view these code editors, they're just text file editors. Think of it as the word editor, as if you were writing. You're just going to write words in the editor in Markdown instead of writing in words in Word application. That's what I'm going to try to convince you. But be open. Like, I think what we're going to see more and more of these surfaces come out. And just be open, even if it's a little bit foreign, to exploring them, because we all need to get quicker, faster, right? So let's do this. I'm going to go to my little whiteboard and we'll do a little quick study. And for the people who are in the current cohort, you're going to see more of this on tomorrow. So you get a sneak peek, and then maybe I'll maybe I'll ask you to teach the course tomorrow. Okay, so let's do this. Let's first understand, like, what's the scenario? What are we looking to do? We're looking to for work that we want to do. I'm going to click here. For work that we want to automate, and we've got some kind of scenario. I don't make it dizzy here, but what do we want to do? We have this scenario, this kind of goal, and right, I kind of describe it. What we want to do is we want to be able to decompose this scenario into this dream team, I say, of these world-class experts, right? You all have work, you're all SMEs in certain areas. And if you were in my course, right, one of the things we do is we ask an assistant, we give it a scenario, and we say something like, right, you're an expert at designing multi-agent systems. Please identify the agents I need for this scenario. And what is it going to do? It's going to identify all these amazing, always say people, they're not people, but you know what I'm saying, right? It's going to identify the scenarios. So there's a very nice way that we can actually implement this in Claude Code, which, of course, the people who are programmers are using this to program. But what we're going to do is we're going to use it to build out agents that are going to do work for us. And we're going to create and design those agents in natural language. And then we're going to give it a goal, and then we're going to see it do its work. So subagents is a feature, and put it in the chat. James, you might be familiar with this. Put in the chat if you're familiar with subagents in Claude Code, but it's a very simple concept. A subagent is just this very specific digital worker that we're going to create. And when it needs to go do work, it's going to be called to do that work. That's kind of one. And the other thing is, when that agent runs, it's going to run in its own context window, which means that we're not going to confuse it with a whole bunch of other things that are going on. It's going to go do its work, and then it's going to go bring back that work to the main agent. The other thing is that little sub-agent has specific tools that we're going to give it. And we're also going to give it we're going to describe, like, who are you? What are you great at? How do we want you to respond? So that's essentially what a sub-agent is. And the cool thing is that all we need to do is define what the sub-agent is. And we've got, the way it works, look in the gray box, we're going to give Claude Code a goal. And it's going to look at that goal, and it's going to look at all the sub-agents it has at its disposal. And if it needs to call one of these, it's just going to call it. Okay, everybody grokked with me so far? Now, it's not magic. It's not magic. And the reason it's not magic, let's look at what is in one of these, okay? And here's the beauty. There's no code here. It's a markdown file. And I know all of you are smart people, and I know you can write in English. I know that. So let's look at what is in a sub-agent. It's got a name. You all have names, right? We got a name. We're going to give it a description at what its purpose is and when should it be called. And that's important because the main orchestrator is going to look at the description and is going to like, oh, that's what I would use Ichvan for, right? So we need to get a good description. The other thing is that in the sub-agent, we need to give it tools to go do its job. And then we're going to need to give it a system prompt. And remember, the system prompt or developer prompt, that's synonymous. Those are the instructions that we're going to give the sub-agent, who it is, what its objective is, what it's good at, what we want it to do, all the nitty-gritty details, how we want it to output. And then the last thing we can give it is we can give it a brain. We can say, hey, which model do you want to use? Okay. Any questions there? We're going to give it a name. We're going to tell it what its purpose is. We're going to put some tools in the tool bag. We're going to give it a brain, and then we're going to give it instructions around what we want it to do, how we want it to kind of do its work. Does that make sense? Pretty straightforward? Okay. So if we do that, the cool thing is, like I said, is that when this little sub-agent is called, it's going to bring back these results to the main context window. So the main context window has access to all of this. So if I said Istvan is the worker, Istvan's going to go do some work, he's always going to bring it back to me. Okay. But Istvan is not confused with all the other things that Jack's doing, Samantha's doing, Carol's doing. You're all going to operate in your own, I was going to say private Idaho, you know what I'm saying, context window. Okay. So let's look at, how about we look at a scenario, and then we'll look at how do we do this. Okay. So let's do this. I'm going to you can activate Claude Code in a terminal, and you can do that. That's probably a little bit foreign to people, but what I recommend is you get one of these code editors, and I'll make it a little bit bigger. Okay, you make it. I'll make it a little bit bigger. It could be Cursor. It could be Visual Studio. Again, for people who are not techie, think of this as Word. Think about this as the Word document. Think about this as Word. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to open up a new terminal window. Okay, I'm going to open up a new terminal window. See if I can keep this one. I'm going to keep that one open. Okay, and the beauty is if you install this and you run Claude from the terminal here, it's going to allow you to run it in the IDE. Okay, so the beauty of it here is Claude Code does some of its work. It's going to produce files, and here's the beauty of it. These are just markdown files. Okay. I'll show you how we go about creating an agent, and then we'll go off and we'll just let it, we'll pick a scenario and we'll let it go off to do some work. Okay. But let's just look at one that's already done that you could probably all relate to, just so you have a little bit of context. LinkedIn hook writer is a sub agent. It's got a name. It's got a description. Use this agent. Can you all see that? Is it big enough for you? Okay. Okay. Use this agent when you need to create a compelling open line for basically creating a hook. All right. So this is when the sub agent would be called. We're gonna give it a color, and you'll see where the color comes out. And then these are all the instructions that basically is the system prompt that it's going to give the model of what this, like I always say, what this digital agent is going to do. You're a LinkedIn content strategist. You do this, you do that. Your job is all these things. When you craft hooks, you will. Does that make sense? We're just giving it very detailed instructions. And let's say we don't like let's say we like, oh, we want to add one. What do? We just come in here. It's just a text editor. Okay, so if we don't like the instructions, we can do that. Or the other thing, for those of you who are familiar with code editors, right? What can we do? We can use the little, right? We can use the agent over here, and we can just prompt in there. And we might say, hey, I'm not getting, there's something else I want to add. And we could prompt here, and the model could recommend changes to our text editor, our text. Does that make sense? Or we can use we could do maybe that later, but I just want to say this is just text. Okay. So that's what it looks like. But let's kind of go through, and if anybody has this installed, you can do it. So we're in Claude Code, and again, Claude Code is being used primarily for people who are hardcore developers, which is most of us are not. So what we're going to do is we're going to activate this thing called agents. Okay. And we're going to go in here to creating an agent. So let's just go through the process around how we do this. Now you'll see that I've got a number of little agents that are here that I've already created, like for example, the LinkedIn hook writer. So let's create a new agent. And I'm going to just add it to this project. There's two ways to define a sub agent. One is let Claude generate it and it's going to ask you some questions. Okay, so that's what we're going to do here. Does anybody have like a sub agent that they might want to create? I don't know, some kind of worker that's going to go off and do some work for us. Maybe it goes and finds something on the web. Anybody got anything interesting? If you do, put it in the chat. If
Love.
not,
How we get this into an MCP with like HubSpot, for example?
how
So
would we?
yeah, no.
Yeah.
So this was a use case for you.
Okay. So what's the scenario, or what would this digital worker do?
This digital worker here would review the stuff that I've built and see what is a good hook for my LinkedIn posts.
Okay. So would it be reviewing some kind of existing post, or what would it be doing?
That's a good idea. So maybe get a style and voice guidance, use that, yeah, for whatever.
Well, I'm trying to think about what I want to keep it fairly straightforward.
Simple.
Well, here's one right here.
Can you just build a connection to HubSpot and update any emails that come across, for example?
Yeah, you can. I'll show you all, and this is a really good point. And this is the really thing that's nice. You can connect any MCP tool to Claude Code. And so what does that mean? That means that when these sub agents go off to do work, it's going to look at the tools that it has in its tool bag, and it's just going to use them. Okay. So Sam put one in here, find the top advancements this week and summarize them for me. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to say, find the top 5 AI advancement in this. Let's just say, find the top 5 advancements this week on the web, and summarize them in 200 words or less, and include a link for me to read the details. Let's just say that, okay? And here's what it's going to do. I'm going to hit enter. It's going to start generating the configuration. And the beauty here, the configuration, as we saw, is just text. And it's going to start to ask me the additional questions. Now, we could get much more verbose around the definition of the subagent, right? We might even use another AI to help us just get a really good definition around what that was. But this is fairly straightforward. Again, just so we've got a quick example to actually create the subagent. And then what we're going to do is we're going to run one that will actually get carried out. So that the next thing is what kind of tools that do you want to give it? And there's a number of different tools that come out of the box in Claude Code. One is the ability to search the web. Because it runs on your desktop, it can have access to your file system and typical file operations. And you also have the ability to add MCP tools. So I'm just going to show you. These are all the tools that this particular subagent has. And you'll notice at the bottom, there's a number of tools there that send Slack message, go into HubSpot, create Google Docs, LinkedIn, share an update, find a file on Google Drive. Those are all tools that I've added in a Zapier MCP server connection. I can show you how to do that. I also have a link. I also have some details on the whiteboard. And you see the little X's here? We literally could just turn all these tools on or off. Okay. So if I didn't want to give this subagent all of these tools, I would just turn these off. And you can add whatever MCP tools that you want, and I'll show you how to do that as well. Okay, so we've got some tools. Let's see. I'm going to continue. I'm going to give it all the tools, and here's where we pick the brain. I'm going to give it the sonnet model, and we're going to pick a color. We'll do pink. Okay, and so what is it doing now? It's creating the definition of this AI news aggregator. Here's what it is. It's going to basically put it here as another file under agents. Okay, which is why this is handy to have a code editor, because it'll produce files for you. And so this is just gonna finish, and it's gonna plop out a new file. So it's a pretty straightforward process. What do we need to do? We just need to get really good at describing who this subagent is, what is it does, and what do we want to give it, what kind of brain and what kind of tools that we want to give it. And then it's just going to create a markdown file. And if we don't like it, or if we want to edit the markdown file, we can do that. Pretty straightforward. Any kind of high level questions on that? Okay. So once this is done, kind of surprised it's not done. It's just going to save it. Yeah, it's just gonna save it. Kind of surprised where it's not done. And maybe, oh, I didn't push enter. Okay, see what happens? News aggregator. This is Sam's subagent. Give it a name, research and summarize the latest AI developments, breakthroughs, and news across the web, right? The model, and it's got a color pink. So you are an expert. So here's what we could do to run this. We can call any one of these subagents by name, right? If we want to use this digital, we could say, please use, and if we do @ and we say we want to use the, where was it? We want to use the, where are you? Maybe I'm up. Am I in the right file here? Here, let me go. Okay, so agents, let me just make sure it's there. Agents. Okay, so it's there. So, but we can call these by name. Use the, how come you're not, okay, there we go. Use the AI news aggregator to find the top stories and save it in a nice markdown file. Okay. Now we don't have to do that, but that is actually just calling that subagent to go do some work. So what is it going to do? Look what it says. Right? Is it big enough for you? Hey, I'll use the AI news aggregator that Sam created to find out all the new stories, and I'll put it in a nice new. And I'm just going to say it's going to prompt you. You can configure it to just go do work, or it'll prompt you, like if it's doing tool calls and things like that. It's going to it's just going to do it. So you notice the pink. It basically makes it a little bit easier to see these, and it's just going to kind of go do that work. Right now, imagine where you just wanted to do something, and imagine the work that you needed to do. Maybe it's Istvan. I went through with and created a Science Journal editor agent. This is incredible. Yeah. So let's say you wanted to do a whole bunch of work, and you need to go off and do some things. It could just spawn these things, right? You're just giving it the goal. We're all doomed. You're just going to give it the goal, and the main context window is going to call these agents, and it's just going to go do the work. This one, we're just calling it directly, right? But imagine for Istvan and his role, or any of your roles, you want to go do research, and each one of these subagents, maybe they're going off to different sites. Maybe they're very specialized, right? And so I know Carol does a lot of market research. So imagine, Carol, you've got all these little subagents who are going to go read specific sites and specific journals, and you're giving it your expertise around the specific things they want you to do. Okay. And so here it is. It's basically searched the web. It found some things. It did some tools kind of cause the web. And at the end of the day, it's going to produce a markdown file, right? And as we know what markdown files, it's just text. And then we can take that and basically go off and do some, we can take it and we can do anything we want with it. Okay. So that is actually just calling a subagent directly. But for probably most of the things that we want to do, we want to create all these little digital workers, and we want to just give it our problem, and we want Claude Code to do the orchestration, right? Because we don't want to necessarily say, do this, do this, do this, do that. Okay. And so that one's just kind of direct calling. But I didn't have to call it, I didn't have to call the agent by name. Okay. So I'm going to create a new terminal window, and we'll run another one. Okay. And by the way, that one is still running. We can always go back to it. Okay. So as James said, we could have a whole bunch of agents doing their thing. So I'm going to call up another instance of Claude Code, and I've got a couple sub agents here around creating. I've got this one which is an AI news researcher, which is similar to the one that Sam created. I've got an editorial sub agent that is going to be an expert level editorial reviewer that will review posts that requires Harvard Business Review caliber. I've got a LinkedIn hook writer. And so let's put one where we do not call the sub agent by name, and we just want it to go do some work. Okay. And I'm just going to paste this one in here, and I'm going to paraphrase it. Write this HBR caliber article on the potential security risk of AI agents. Find and cite 2 recent news stories. The article should be targeted by business leaders. Write the content. Give me a LinkedIn hook and put this post summary out to my Slack channel. There are no specific agents that are called there, meaning I'm not saying use this, use that, right? I'm just giving it a goal, and I'm going to hit the button here and what starts happening first is Claude Code is going to start to build up a to-do list around, given this thing that James wants me to do. You see the to-do list? It's going to start doing that work, and it's going to start delegating the work to whatever subagents. Does that make sense? So the first one, research and find 2 news stories. It's going to call the AI news researcher subagent. That's doing its work. Okay. And I'll just finish here. And so once that's done, it's going to go down its to-do list, and it's going to say, hey, write a HBR caliber article to senior business leaders. And it's going to look at the agents that it has on the dream team, and it's hopefully it's going to call this writer who's going to go do some work. Okay. But while it's doing that, let's answer some questions. Samantha.
Okay, so I think it was week 2, we learned about multi-step workflows and like how to do the project and put the instructions in there. This seems to have some similarities, right? Where the workflow steps would be sub-agents
Yes.
ish if it were apples to apples. So in what scenario would I go through what my interpretation is, like this is intense compared to how I use AI? So like in what scenario would I use this versus creating a multi-step workflow in a project?
Great question. I'll just hit this and while this thing is doing its work. So actually, Sam and I worked the other day on one of her scenarios because she's an awesome salesperson. And what she did, she created a ChatGPT project, and we basically worked through some instructions, right? Which was great because it kind of summarized some things for pre-call prep and things like that. And ultimately, that was going through, and Sam, correct me if I'm wrong, was basically summarizing some things that she needed to do to kind of prep for kind of a call. So a couple things. One is that's awesome in a couple things. Couple things. One is that when we give a project context, remember the documents that we put in there are basically up until a point of time, right? That would be one. The other one is in projects, we're limited to what we can do with that afterwards, right? Which means we're not able to then, maybe in your scenario, it did all the pre-call prep, and then let's say you wanted to do some other things to push something out somewhere, you're probably going to be limited around the tools that you have to do some additional work on that. So if it's just content, this will be somewhat probably somewhat equivalent. But you can think about this. What we're doing here, and by the way, I just want to say, Here you see red, it's calling the writer here, this HBR writer, and it's doing its work. Just wanted to say that. What we're doing here is think about this. Think about the work that we do every day, and think about, gosh, if we could describe that worker with some instructions, with some tools, with a brain, right, and give it some clear instructions, that is also reusable, right? And so this is a really good question that Sam asked. So think about these sub-agents as reusable workers, right? Maybe I have a scenario and I just want to give it. Maybe it uses 2 of my sub-agents. Maybe I have something, it just uses 1. Maybe there's something that I want to do that uses 10, right? So this would be another thing where, what are we doing? We are encapsulating almost the IP that we have of these little workers who are going to go do some things, and they're just going to get called when they need to. Does that help, Sam, or maybe other people around? Maybe what would be the scenarios, right, where we would use this? And by the way, now it's calling the reviewer, okay? So I would say you're not limited here around tools. In this case, this is running on your desktop. It has full access to anything that you give it on your machine. So it's always going to be using the latest files. You can connect Claude Code with any MCP server, so you're not going to be constrained by what you can do within the assistant, right? Because sometimes they constrain what you can do. Like, they're awesome, right? But they might constrain what you can do. Yeah, those are a couple things to come to mind. You all may have some additional ideas, but hopefully that helps around, right? Because one of the things I love to do, share with y'all, like, because there's not one like maybe right or wrong answer. We have to think about the scenario and think about, like, what's the best maybe way to implement it. And I'm just giving you another way to do it here. Carol.
So, in this case, you're giving us a really good example that's using some of the agents that you've created.
Yeah.
What happens if you didn't have, for example, an HBR writer, but you put that in as part of your request? Like, what if that sub agent didn't exist? You put that in as part of your request.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it would probably the main agent or the main Claude Code, it would probably take over that task and do the best it could with that, right? Because it still has access to Sonnet, right? The main, if you just want to think at the main Claude Code, it still has I mean, it's still basically the Sonnet a model that's thinking. So if it didn't have something to delegate it to, my assumption, it would just kind of do the work as best as it could. Okay. And then I think it is actually just pushing out this is why I like to actually see this, where it's actually pushing the work out to just the markdown file, and it'll push it somewhere here. And it'll just get added here, and then we'll just see it. Okay. Let's see. Has anyone looked? Yes, I have looked at context 7. I think I used that in Cursor. Can you show how you got into subagents? Is that a config on Claude? So yeah, let me just save agent security risk article. Agent security risk. So here it is. And if we want to look at it, we can look at it in beautiful markdown. Like, oh my gosh, right? So here's my beautiful article, right? Right, and that's just markdown, right? Like, so that's a nice route, right? Let me close that, and let me close that. And so the way you get this to work, I guess, is that thing. Can you show us again how you got into subagents? Yeah, let's kind of go back here. This one is still doing its thing. It's creating. Okay, well, there's two things left to do. One, it's going to create the hook, and the other thing it's going to do, and here's a good example, where it's going to make an MCP call, and it's going to send this to my Slack channel, right? So this is actually one of the connections. So Sam, this is something you wouldn't be able to do, let's say, or just for everybody, in a project. Let's say you did a bunch of stuff, and let's say in Sam's example that this pre-call juicy summary, she wanted to put it out on Slack because she or other members of her team might be taking that call. This would be something that it could actually do that last mile work of pushing it out to a Slack channel, as an example. So the way you get there, so again, to start it in the terminal, again, I like it within this editor because I get to see, right, like these things, and you can just edit those, right? I wouldn't be, probably for some of you, like, hey, I've never worked in one of these. I would just say, open your mind. It's just a text editor, right? Just think about it like that. And here's the other thing. Let's say and I'll get to your question. Let's say I wanted to give Carol all of my amazing sub-agents. What would I do? I would just send her my markdown files. Right? So think about this as well. This is how I think about it. These markdown files, these little sub-agents, are almost our crown jewels around some of the work that we do, right? That make us unique and our IP and things like that, right? So our ability to craft these agents can be really helpful, either with our coworkers or, right? They're just text files. So if we wanted to share our sub-agents with our team, they're just markdown files. We can easily do that, okay? So let me just show you this too. When all the work is done, you see how it crosses it out, and basically it gives us, hey, I've done all the work, and right here's your LinkedIn hook. Okay, so the way we get into this within Claude Code, you just have to do the Claude Code install. New terminal. The first time you do Claude, it will install it will install the Claude kind of app within the editor, and so you just do Claude, and you'll notice up here too. If you see this little thing up here, I could run Claude Code here also on the side here. It's the same thing. So you get this little button in here as well. Okay, and so the way to get to the agents, all you do is just do agents, and this is going to give you the ability to create new ones, edit any of your existing ones. Okay, so I can edit any of the ones here. And so once this is where you, in /agents, this is where you go to create them. Or if I wanted to edit, for example, this AI curriculum architect, right? This is the definition of that agent right there, right? Now I have it right up here, so I could edit it right here in the, text, right in the text. So does that, hopefully that helps. Answers James' question. So let me take a pause because I feel like I've been talking at you a bit. This is what do y'all think? Like, this is another approach where if you've got work that needs to be done by the dream team of some digital workers that you want to go do some work for you, and you just want to give it a goal, it'll do automatic delegation as long as you do a good job of breaking your stuff down. And as long as the description is clear, use this agent when it needs to Claude's going to create that for you, right? Because that's going to dictate when the sub-agent actually gets called. What do you think? Think about some of the work that you're all doing and maybe put something in the chat around, right? Do you think this could maybe help you do some work? What do y'all think? Or feel free to come off chat or come off mute. Anybody? If not, I'll keep on going. Okay. So I'll just show you one of the things that I've been doing is I've been like, this is my own little this is my own, like, for my $1 million business that I don't have yet, but I'm going to get. I have all of these, like I'm starting to create all these little subagents here. And the way I do that is, what is the work that I do that I want to, that I don't want to have to type out that prompt, right? So for example, I occasionally create these lightning sessions, these 30-minute lightning sessions. And I did this the other day. Okay. I have an idea. And so I created a sub-agent that will help me design a 30-minute lightning lesson on Maven, because I've done it a couple times and it takes a bunch of time. And I'm like, why wouldn't I just create a sub-agent to help me draft the content for the landing page, the content that I'm actually going to I'll give it an idea and it's just going to create my whole lesson plan around what I'm going to cover in 30 minutes. That's an example, right? So I would just say, think about the work that you do, and I would say, go ahead and encapsulate your IP in your markdown files. Okay. Let's take a look. Carol, you're on mute, Carol.
I know. You know, I was hoping, James, somebody would answer your question about what are some ideas of where you might use this.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's where I struggle, and I see Jack's comment too. Yes, absolutely. I can see opportunities, right?
Yeah.
And in his case, personal application is more than one. And I'm like, I so want this to do my work for me, and I'm struggling to think of like where it could really, really, really do something valuable for me. And I'm thinking of opportunities. I was hoping people would have ideas that would trigger ideas for me.
Okay. Well, let's look at Istvan. Istvan does a lot of research and things like that. He said he created a science journal editor. Would that be something that how would that help you?
Yeah, I think there are some ideas for that. So just from the top of my head, now we're also working on establishing a website, and for that, kind of having hard work on the actual content to make it from there too much research to people oriented. And then when you have an agent that is good in the small snappy 3-line things, then if you can create an agent like that, then it makes it easier from the overweighted thing that I would naturally, like as I'm talking now. So it's it's more of a heavy thing that you can turn into something else. Or I had another thing a couple of months ago. I was pruning a tree and I was asking Claude about how do I cut this or that branch, or how do I actually do that? And if you come to it, like back again another time, then I think you can go back to those discussions and figure out what kind of agent you would need that does that what you did over 10 or 20 back and forth discussions.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and let me just say, I know Carol, I know Samantha, you all do a bunch of research, right? Right? So that could be a perfect use case, right? You like I know Samantha has specific accounts, right? She's got a target list of, right, X amount of accounts. I'm sure she wants to understand a whole bunch of, well, I know she does. There's a bunch of things that she wants to understand about them. You could have some sub-agents who are going off and just doing that work, and Samantha's not even doing the work. It's like, it's that research is already done for her and it's been prepared, right? She's not going in and doing any of that. Like, they're off doing the work and producing the deliverables for her. Does that make sense? Carol, for you, probably, right? Where, in what genres, anything that's repeatable that could be automated. I would think about it like this. And that's kind of what I'm doing, like in my work. Okay, I might be doing this thing manually. What would be the worker that would go off and do that work for me? Right. So I do believe it could be anything that the work that we do where it is repeatable, or we just want it to go do a bunch of work for us. And we just want the end result, right? We just want the end result. And in some cases, maybe we just want it to go off and do a bunch of work and actually do the end result of maybe publishing it somewhere or producing something. So I suspect probably maybe Carol, in terms of your point here, all you work in very specialized fields, right? So the instructions that you have could be very, very unique, right? These kinds of articles, these kinds of sites, right? Think about like if the expertise that you all have, all of those would be ingredients in the instructions, right? And they become these very specialized subagents who are going to go off and do your work, which is kind of what I would kind of position it as. Okay. But go ahead. I mean, this is good feedback, right? I don't know. I'm finding that there's many things that I could do that are repeatable. And then what I do is I stop and say a couple things. One, is this a prompt that I have in an assistant? And if so, I put it in a markdown file. Or I say, hey, is this a good use case where I could just create a subagent and ask it to do some work for me, right? Maybe I've written an article, and maybe what I'm doing it is I just give it to Claude Code and say, hey, review this and improve it. Give me a LinkedIn hook. And it's going to, what is it going to do? It's going to be calling all those little subagents to produce the work, right? And what is in those instructions are things that are unique to my brand voice, kind of the length, the formatting. Like that would just, that would save me so much time, right? Those would be some maybe another examples.
I like Samantha's comment here too, to have a chat with ChatGPT and have it query you, you know, like, so what are the things, you know, have it interrogate.
You know what I should do? I should ask, yeah, like exactly. Right. You can always say, hey, this is my scenario, right? You know, what kind of subagents would I have? And here's what I realize. When I put that into a prompt, it identifies so many other things that I didn't even think about, because it's thinking about breaking the work down into these things that tend to be much more specialized. So I think that's the way I look at it. Like, I'm a team of one at my company. I think about who else is on my team, and the other people that are on, they're not people. The other workers on my team are these subagents that I hope go off and do a whole bunch of work that I don't want to do, right? Because it's either boring or monotonous or repetitive. Okay. So give it a go. I would love to know what you come back with. How about we take a quick look at Comet? Is anybody using the Comet browser? You do have to have a paid subscription on Perplexity. Is anybody using this? Okay. I don't have a lot of experience in working with it, but here's like a couple things. Let's just look at it. You can download it now if you do have Comet. And I'll make this a little bit bigger. And so what is it? It looks very similar to, obviously, Perplexity. You can type anything that you want here. And what is in here is this assistant pane. Okay. And the other thing you can do is you can connect it to some things, right? It's not as elaborate as Claude Code or Claude and ChatGPT and things, but I'm sure it'll be sure to be increased, right? And so you can do a couple things. One, I would just say experiment with it. But a couple things you can do, right? I could say, right, what do I have, right? What do I have on my calendar, right? Today, right? And I could ask it what I want to prep for and stuff like that. So now it does have access to my calendar, right? Those are some of the things that I've got going on. The other thing is, for example, like here's something, right? For those of people who are in my cohort, again, this is just things that you can do, where this is the Slack channel, right? I could say, right, are there any messages I need to reply to in the, right, in the, what is it, cohort -08 channel, right? And so it's going to go off and do some work, right? Now I'm not, that's all I'm asking it. I'm just, and so what is it going to do? It is going to start to actually go and look at, right, that channel and ask me, right? You do not have any direct messages, okay? it can also do some things where if you want to give it a goal, so I might say, please find, this was kind of similar to the example I think I showed in the past, but it can take over your website, right? So it could say, I could say, please plan a seafood dinner for tonight and add the groceries, right? Groceries to my HEB cart, right? And it can go there and it can open up that browser if I've done it right. And let's see if it'll do it. Okay, so it's actually doing some work and it's navigating the HEB website. So you'll see it's in agentic mode here, stop the comment assistant. So it's taken over my browser and it's just going off and doing some work. So there might be some things that we do where we've got the browser open, and what are we really doing? We're using this assistant pane to ask it to maybe do some things. I might say, hey, are there any LinkedIn messages that I need to respond to? It'll take control of your browser and it will start to kind of, on the right, the assistant is doing, and it's kind of thinking and iterating what it needs to do. And it's kind of doing some work. Does that make sense? All right. So there might be some things that you do where it's repetitive and you just want to be able to have a browser experience that has access, right? So yes, at one point I had logged in to my HEB, my HEB site, but it then kind of logged in there. So it does, if you give it, it does have access to, if you're on Gmail, your Gmail, it does have access in the calendar. Unlike the other assistants that cannot send email, if you wanted to send email, this can send email. Okay, so if you wanted to do some last minute, or if you wanted to, for it to do, hey, send this to, if I said, hey, send a note, share this recipe with Istvan, right? It would actually send him an email. So if you've got kind of tasks where you want to do some last minute or last mile stuff, it'll do some of that as well. The other thing that's worth kind of looking at too is you have the ability to do these little shortcuts. And these shortcuts are, you can give it a name and you can give it instructions. So these are kind of repeatable things that you want to do, that you want the Comet browser to go off and execute. And you just literally type in the instructions and you give it what kind of model that you want it to use. And you can give it kind of some sources. These are the same sources that are available in the application. And so these are some of the example ones. This is the one that I just kind of showed you. This was one that I just put in there. Scan the cohort channel, find any questions I need to respond, create a draft message that I can refine and send. So you could just build up this standard inventory of things that you want to go do, and you can create them as shortcuts. And this is handy if the things it needs to go do is on the web, right? So if you've got Perplexity Pro, give it a whirl. You might find that there's some things that you do to use the browser as well as this assistant mode. So like one of the things you could do, like I could go here, I could say, right, please summarize, right, please summarize, right, this page, right? And what is it going to do? It's going to summarize this page. You could also do the same thing. Let's say there's a YouTube video that you wanted to do, right? I could say, and these are all preset here, summarize this video, right? And it will, let's say there's a website you're on or YouTube video, and you just needed the quick overview of what was on that page or what were the key things, right? The idea is you've got this little assistant page on the side where it might summarize some things. It might go do some things. So let me just take a pause. I know we only have a couple minutes left. It's another tool in the tool bag. There might be some things that save you some time. Any reaction? I think we're going to see more of these, right? We're going to see, I mean, OpenAI is going to come out with their agentic browser, right? So if you do some things in the web and you want to codify some of these shortcuts to do some things, all you have to do is put your little shortcuts in here and it will go off and do that work. Or you can use the little assistant pane on the right.
Very cool.
So those are some things. Okay. I know we only have a couple minutes left. Can you point us to the Miro board from the earlier? Yeah. I'll put that in the link. Yeah. Actually, you know what that is? That is actually a Canva link. It's a Canva whiteboard, and I will share that. Copy the link. And yeah, if you're interested in getting Claude Code set up, then that would be the way to do that. Okay, and if you're in the cohort, we're gonna work on this in more detail Thursday in next week. So you all got a kind of a sneak preview in terms of something that we're going to be working on to kind of go build some out. So people like Samantha who are not sure about what she's going to put this thing to use to, I think hopefully I'm gonna help you and convince you to give you some ideas. Okay, so was this helpful? I know we spent a little bit of time together. What did you all learn? Did you learn something that you could put into practice?
We'll definitely try Claude and build some agents. That's earlier it was, I think, only for Mac available, but now I could also just set it up as you were showing that example. So that we certainly want to figure more out about.
Yeah, agreed. And you know, you may have seen, some of you may have seen also the post that I did. And actually, I'm going to do a lightning session on this tomorrow. This idea of you know, using, you know, kind of managing our prompts. And of course, I'm more technical. Again, whether it's in your drive or whatever have you. I like this idea. I do, right? But being able to add where I'm managing my $1 million business here, I've got these all managed as markdown files. So that would be the other maybe challenge to all you. Start to really save all these prompts as markdown files. And in my case, what I do is I manage those in my code editor. And when I'm ready to push those and use them across any assistant, then I go ahead and I push it to GitHub and I've got version control, right? So that's how that works. And so if I wanted to use a style guide like this, kind of write a article to you all, I have an audience style guide for people who, right, who, for example, in this course, right? Whatever. So I could say, please write a short post on how non-technical people can use Claude Code to automate, if I can type, automate business workflows, right? Use the attached style guide, right? What I like about this is, one, I've got version history, and I can use this in any assistant because I pretty much use them all, right? And so I really love the way Claude has this ability. So here it is, right? This format here. And just to be clear, the audience style guide, I just say, I think it's under marketing, maybe, or where is it? Yeah, audience style guides. So here's the audience style guide. Right? Does that make sense? I took some time and I said, hey, who's my audience? Voice and tone, right? Kind of content, right? Do this, do that. Does that make sense? And now I can use that style guide in anything. So what I'm finding, it's making me more rigorous around the prompts that I have. It's allowing me, it's challenging me to think about my subagents. And then it's just giving, again, I find this really easy. I can be anywhere, I can be in any assistant, and I can just use that. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And again, you don't have to be a code person to use GitHub. What do? If you've got Claude or Claude Code, just ask it to help you. Hey, create me a new repo. Hey, push these files to GitHub. You don't need to know any of the GitHub commands. So if you are looking to version control and you're just like, hey, I just want to kind of take it to the up game.
Okay.
You don't need to, you don't need to know all the technical details. So don't let that scare you. Okay. Yeah, brand style guides are great. They're great. Everybody, all of you write to a certain audience. And how do we create a style guide? We have a assistant help us, right? Help me create a brand style guide. And right, you all have a unique audience, you all will have unique expertise, and these things just help us produce, right, better content. Okay, well, I want to respect all your time.
James, this is
Yeah.
Ernie. Can you give us the link again to see this recording and other recordings?
Yeah, I can.
Thank you.
It's actually, let me just show you really quickly. It's actually, because it's a really good point, because I've been all over the map a little bit around how do I best get content out to y'all. So there's a couple things. Let me just show you all really quickly. You can, let's see. Out on my website, I've got the hands-eye forum. I do have the videos that are down here, right? So I will add them here. I'll just kind of put them there so they'll be posted. And then for all of you who are in my course, I did add a link here, this hands-eye AI portal. You do need your Google login.
Yes.
But I've got all of the decks here. So I've got all the decks.
Amazing.
So you don't have any of you don't, if you're in the course, you don't, like, this is literally, I update these things.
Yeah.
I think every week. So that's the place to find it.
You're amazing. I don't know where you find the time. Thank you.
Well, this is what I do. It's like, I wouldn't be able to do the work that you all do. So, right. It's all
Thank
relative.
you so much.
Yeah. So thanks for everybody sharing up. If you all happen to know anybody who wants to have fun with me in September, feel free to send me the link. Love GitHub for non-technical, would love to be able to walk through from the beginning of that. So would you all like me to create, well, actually tomorrow I'm doing a 30-minute session, and I'm not here selling this or so. I'm just saying, if you do want, tomorrow I'm doing a 30-minute live session on Maven around how to do this. So one, you could either come to that, or if you all want me to just create a video for y'all around how to do that, it's not hard. So let's see, Rachel brought that up. Carol, you did, how can I best serve you? Do you want me to create like a little how-to video on how to get that set up? Would that help you all?
That would be priceless.
Yeah. Okay. I'll do that. It's not really, once you get into it, like I said, then you're like, okay, like it's pretty straightforward. And then, right. And I think this is true. Like, what are we saying? As the models change, we have to change our prompts, right? Right. And so if we version some of them, we could always go back, right, to what they were like when they worked. Right. And this is our IP, right? Like, these things are crown jewels, right? And like I said, if I wanted to give any of you any of my subagents, what would I do? Right? I would just give you access, or I just send you a link to my repo or my file or whatever. It's just files, right? It's just text, right? So I'll work on that. I'll create a video for y'all around how to get that set up.
Awesome.
need to do that for people who are in my course anyway. All right. All right, everybody. Feel free to send me a note around things that you would like to maybe see next month, or you don't have to do it now, like throughout the month, so that I can make sure that whatever we talk about on these things are valuable. And it's good seeing you all, really is. Is everybody doing good? Any good successes are out there before we? I know some of you've got new jobs. I know, Jack, you got a new job. I know Carol has got a new job. I know Karina, she's like at Harvard. She's like a superstar now. I know Justin's building code. Justin, you're building. I know Justin was in my cohort last month, and he started to build some some stuff in Claude Code.
So started using Claude Code a little bit, but I've actually taken advantage of Cursor, and I've gone from never writing any real software to writing firmware that's running on a device that is creating images and IMU files. I've written a whole iOS application that's pulled it over. So I have probably 10,000 plus lines of code written in roughly 2 weeks, simply by leveraging Cursor in 2 different applications.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah.
Cursor AI is amazing. And vibe coding is so real. It's I'm actually in the process right now of pushing this up to Xcode test pilot, so I can actually push it out and start sharing the application with people.
Yeah, so Justin, he's he's got his startup, he's doing this, and it was so funny. I think it was just like a couple weeks ago, we were going through this example with Claude Code and kind of like this. And while I was kind of talking and stuff, Justin was literally off, not in the background, like during the course, he was like building all this stuff, and I'm like, holy cow, right? And like as you said, you're an entrepreneur who has an idea, right? And it's like, how do we take these ideas and make them a little bit more concrete? And that's super cool.
Yeah, no, thanks, James. Your coaching along the way there was extremely helpful. So thanks.
Well, appreciate that. Okay, well, hey, this is why we get together. It's always fun to see the things that you're all up to. So good seeing you all. Don't be a stranger, and feel free to send me a note or something. If anything you can help, obviously I'm always here to help you however I can. All right, everybody.
Thank you.
Good seeing you. Yeah.
Thank you much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you, James, for a great session. Thanks.
Of course. Yeah.
Thank
See
you
you
so
next
much, James.
time.
Yeah.